Welcome back. It is morning news today. Now, before the break and our little technical glitch, which we apologize for, we were chatting about the IMF and what it says South Africa actually needs to do to get back on a good economic footing and identifying certain things, talking about cash-strapped state-owned enterprises, saying South Africa must address governance issues at SOEs as well as reduce the cost of doing business. It must promote competition and reduce uncertainty around land reform. And Viv Govender, a market analyst here, to just tell us about whether these are the absolute four things. Viv, we were talking about that. I mean, we know that they are long-term, but they are imperative to us getting back on our feet. But let's talk about those four and whether they are the only four things or what else we actually need to add to that list from our side.
They're probably the four foundational things. I mean, for every economy around the world, there's nothing specific about South Africa in those four things. You know, get state-owned enterprises, provide electricity properly, you know, make it easy to do business, make it more certain as to what you need, and also have reforms with regards to labor laws, etc., also very important. But that being said, these are multi-year. In some cases, I think probably take more than a decade for South Africa to implement the reforms required, if not even longer, because of the contentiousness around it. But I think there's things in the shorter term that we could be doing, things like focusing on specific industries, focusing on specific sectors that are likely to generate jobs that can absorb low-skilled workers, that I think they haven't talked about in much detail.
Okay, so also a bit worrying about what they had to say, that initial optimism in our economic recovery is fading. I mean, the term we've been using for that is Ramaphoria. Are we seeing an underlying criticism that he's not quite doing what we thought he would do, our president?
I'd like to highlight a fact here. You know, we are part of BRICS, right? Yeah. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. I could make an argument, quite a strong argument, that even during Zuma's era, South Africa was the least corrupt of the BRICS countries. We're not as corrupt as Brazil, not as corrupt as Russia, China, probably even India, and yet we were growing slower than all of them. So it wasn't just corruption that was holding us back. There were structural issues in the country. The removal of Zuma is obviously a good first step, but if it wasn't corruption holding us back, what was? It was the structural issues that we have to concern ourselves with. Okay,
so it's not just the person that we have to look at who's at the helm. Okay, so you did mention, did you say something about 10 years, if I heard you correctly, the time frame for what the IMF has suggested? How long do you think, if we do, if we suggest and get it right, how long before we start to see some positive growth?
Okay, it'll be quicker than that. I mean, if you just focus on the stuff, we've seen many countries turn around growth rates in rather quick time, and we could do it much quicker than 10 years. 10 years is probably too long, considering our low growth rate at the moment, our large population growth rate. We've had declining per capita GDP for quite some time. We can't continue at that rate for 10 more years. It would be disastrous for the country overall.
Okay, so sound plans, sound outlines by the IMF. We just need to get our house in order and get working, is what you're saying. Okay, so the hard work begins. Thank you very much, market analyst Viv Govender, joining us. It is